Hey guys, I had a series of videos I wanted to talk about, all following a certain idea. Right before I was going to come up here and do that, I started talking to my dad, and the conversation we had got my mind on a different subject. So what I'm going to be talking about today is more about vantage points and discussing the ideas about that. So I would define a vantage point as a way to see the world. Now, a vantage point can be physical, of course. You could be at literally different vantage points on the earth, in the world, but it can also be more mental. So, we humans are started off with a very limited collection of vantage points. We in fact only have one, the moment we're born and our first memory. But as we live, as we collect experiences, we gain more vantage points. We get to see the world in different ways. For a long time, I had a very limited set of vantage points just because I didn't get to experience a whole bunch of things. I mean, my family wasn't rich, so we weren't taking extravagant trips all the time, and I've lived mostly in one area. In fact, you can see it right now since I'm at Flag Hill Park. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful vantage point. I love to come up here, but my life, 95% of it has taken place in what you just saw right there. And of course behind me too, because that's the park that I come to often. But I've been very centered in one spot. Now, I'm in the process of trying to get a lot more vantage points, experience the world in new ways, both in physical location and with mental experiences. However, a person like my dad, right now, he has very few vantage points. In fact, really just one. He's constantly concerned about money and bills and working and pleasing his customers. And, that's a fine vantage point to have. It's a valid way to see the world. It's working for him. He's surviving in it, but it's very limited, and it can't be as liberating as it possibly can be. He's not having the best life he can be, possibly because he's not at the right vantage points. He doesn't have the right setup for himself. He's in something that's working for him, sustaining him, but not something that's helping him grow. And I, on the other hand, for myself personally, as I'm finding more vantage points, living different parts of what my life could be, I'm finding more and more vantage points. I'm becoming a different person, and it's irreparable. As I become a new person, I see that the old vantage points weren't just the way of life, but they were a way of life. Like, for example, around this park, last night I did my first 5K. I planned to just run a mile, and then it turned into 2, and then that turned into 3, which is 5K. And that's something I never thought I could do. I liked to run when I was really young, but it became something I didn't like because I wasn't very good at it, partially because I didn't do it so much, and that became a negative feedback loop. Now, after doing my first 5K, I'm like, okay, when's the next 5K? When am I going to do a 10K? When am I going to try a marathon even, or a half marathon? And that's something I never would have considered before, but because I've gained the vantage point of being a person who's completed a 5K, now it's something that I see. It's in my horizons now. It's in my scope. It's something that I see as attainable. Similarly, if I was to release my first game, then I would say, hey, well, you know what? That wasn't so difficult. I was able to do it. I survived. Now I can release another game. Or if I was to start my own business and sell it, then I could say, hey, I could do this again. Or buy my first house and maybe start renting or getting into real estate or doing anything. I think that once a person is able to do something, they're able to see, hey, this is something that I can do possibly multiple times. This is something that I can make a part of myself. So one of the ways that I would say to get more vantage points is to literally go to new locations. For myself, I've been out of state like probably 5 times, maybe around that, and 2 times in my adult life, and that was really for just the day or a 48-hour period when I went to Arizona. When I was really little, I went to Tennessee and probably around there, but I think North Dakota too. I think I saw the Mount Rushmore. But those were a long time ago, and the longer it's been since you've been to a vantage point, the less effective it is for allowing you to see from it. So one of my plans is to travel more, to get myself out there. Another thing is, as I'm becoming more social, I'm interacting in society a little bit more, starting groups or going to friends' house, exploring my comfortability with it, and it's kind of exponential. As I started talking to people, I became much better at it. I started going to friends' houses and stuff, and now I feel like I could just go up to anyone and start talking to them. I don't do that right now, and I should. That's something I need to work on, but it is something that I can do now when I never thought I could do it before, and as I get better at it, I could even lead teams. I could possibly manage a business with hundreds of people if I so chose to go that route. And anyone can do that if they choose to go that route and gain the vantage points, gain the certainty that they could do such a thing through experience. Another thing I'm trying to do is, of course, programming more. And for a long time I felt, I can't be a programmer, I'm not understanding any of this. But as I've programmed more and more, I'm saying, okay, this is something that I can do. This is something that I'm capable of. Now I see what it's like when I'm here, I can continue further. It's really sad when I see my dad and he's only at one specific vantage point. And I tried to get him to see the world in different ways, but I think if you get yourself stuck in that one vantage point, you can really get stuck there because that becomes your reality, and it's very hard to ditch reality. It's very hard to accept that there's more out there. And I mean, we're always going to be stuck we're not always going to be stuck. Who knows what the future holds, but right now we're stuck. We have our sight, hearing, taste, smell. We're at one point in space on Earth, but even as humanity as a whole advances, we all gain new vantage points. I know what the Earth looks like from the moon. I know what the Earth looks like from space. I know what New York looks like through technology. So it's possible to gain vantage points through others' eyes, but that's not good enough. You need to still go out and see the world for yourself. However, if you're really stuck in a certain position, it can help to see the world through others' eyes, and then you say, hey, okay, if they can do it, then I can do it too. For example, I see other people living crazy lives, making a whole lot of money, making millions of dollars a year, going on really nice trips, being very certain of themselves, strong. I mean, there's many people I've seen like that, so it's not just like it can be a fluke, it's something that can be attained. So now I see that they can attain it. I just have to find the vantage points that let me see it in my future and then reach it myself. So that's one of the things I've done, is I've seen other people be so successful. I said, well, you know what? Obviously I can be successful too. There lies an exact sequence of steps that if I take them, I will become successful. So I just need to find out what those steps are and take them. Thankfully, there's more than one series of steps that lead to success, and there's more than one series of steps that leads to failure. But I have found that that doing nothing leads to failure very slowly, but very permanently. So I'm going to continue this exploration of the idea of vantage points. I kind of like it. It explains a lot to me. It helps me. I mean, I hadn't thought of the idea of vantage points until just a few minutes ago. I mean, the underlying concepts, yeah, but the word vantage points, to put a word to it, really helps, and it makes things a lot more certain. But what I know is I'm going to continue broadening my worldview. Enjoy the sunset with me. Find yourself. Get yourself to find new vantage points, to see the world in a new way. I don't think you'll regret it. Take care.